Welcome back to the Titanium Hangar. This is Mike. Happy Friday, everybody. Hope everyone's doing well. Hope everyone's staying warm because it is cold out there this time of year. But maybe we'll stay warm with some pre-orders. Pre-orders for some figures that are sorely needed for a reissue. I hear this at least once or twice a week for both of the characters. But we are going to get a Jabber reissue from Fanstoys, which I would say it's a surprise, but it's not. We're also going to be able to order up a good old Cesium salami with their Perfect Fusion Cesium, which I had originally pre-ordered and canceled because I had scored a Scoria, and with that, I kind of kicked myself because I do think this is superior, and I think that we'll see this come out and not see a Scoria come out ever again. Possibility. But then there's a whole lot of questions and things to talk about, like what's the price going to be in this versus the original price? And then there's always the question of how quick until they sell out. Then there's always the question of what else can they reissue? Will they reissue? What's on the chopping block for reissues for Fanstoys going forward and coming up? Alright, so what's all the jibber jabber about when you're talking about this new Blur, an old Blur, a new Blur? And it is the fact that they're reissuing this figure. So many people ask about this all of the time, and the reason being is once it sells out and nobody has it, and it's been years, I look here and it appears that mine was ordered on the October 16th of 2019. I paid about $100 for mine, $93.99. It was the original price, and that's way cheaper than it is now. Now, of course, I got mine from Shozi, and that's going to be, of course, cheaper than a lot of the other ones back then. But I think the rest of everyone was charging $130. So $130 or so is still way less than $199. We have inflation and all these other things, but isn't this just a straight up reissue? So price wise, it is $200. I guess $200 is better than $300. It's not the super score of a deal. I still think that Show Z Store is going to be the cheapest, probably around the $150 marks. My guess, maybe $140 something, but you're gonna have to put $20 down and put TH in the support your viewer code. One of my questions about the reissue is, will this thing be different than the first one? Will they make some changes, some alterations? It has been almost 6 years, well, 5.5. October of 2019 versus right now, it's actually not coming out right now. It's coming out in July, so that's 5.5 years, over 5.5 years between the release. And with that, this figure is still the best on the market, in my opinion. I know that Unique Toys is making one, or has made one. They're reissuing theirs. I haven't seen that reissue pop up just yet. It looks like it's still on pre-order, but this one here still takes the cake and wins. And I was one of the ones back in 2019 saying, I don't really need another Blur. I've got a Blur. It's not my favorite character, but I still ordered one anyway because I knew once they sold out they'd get expensive. I had no idea that reissues would be double the price in the future. But again, what changes are they going to make? We know they made changes with the Springer. When they did the reissue with the Springer, we saw like paint up on the forehead and a few other things. I'm sure there are people out there with side-by-side pictures on that, but what else will be changed about the figure? I do have one pre-ordered. I did put my $20 down. I do want one in bot mode, and I really, really like the alt mode way more than Unique Toys, so one in both modes is fine for me. Plus, I'm really curious if they change anything on it. Looking over at TF Source, it is $199, $200, estimated to arrive in July, and with that, I don't see any other information about it, and it's got a star rating of 3.6 stars. That's very strange to me, but it's still a very coveted, sought-after figure. Is it perfect? No. And, one of the things I do want to point out is the transformation is not fun, and it can be a little bit stressful. And when the first one came out, there were a lot of reports of breakage, especially like a flimsy little piece that's kind of a gap filler that goes over sort of where the forearm area. I really don't know how to explain it without showing it. All right, now here we go with a Jabber reissue at BBTS. $10 less, so it's $190. So you're already seeing a cheaper price point at BBTS, but cheaper price point equals sells out faster. Now, because nobody knows what the Show Z store price is, it's still available for pre-order. And that's another one of those things that makes it good for the $20 down, slows down people from just going up, I'm going to lock up 3 or 12 pre-orders and then resell them or something like that. You got to plop down all this extra money with not knowing the price. Something along the line like this, so people know the price. They're like, yeah, I'll pay my $189 and then sell it for $300 or something. There are people out there doing that kind of stuff with this. But one of the things is that once they have a reissue like this, it does sort of flood the market. There's not a ton of people out there looking for Jabber. There might be 100 people, but if they do a production run of 2,000, then that means that other 1,800 or something along the lines, 1,500 of them that might be lingering. I have no idea how many they're going to make in a reissue, and that might actually be why the price is so high. There might not be very many in the production run. A lot of factors and questions to ask. Now let's move into talking about Cesium, the PFO1, and there's no PFO2 that I know of. I think they were supposed to make their Quietus or Cyclonus was supposed to be part of the Perfect Fusion line, but they chose not to use the Perfect Fusion name and just go full on Fanstoys once they put the figure in production. Now this is $265 at TF Source. Now the funny thing about this is that is double the price, more than double the price of what the original Perfect Fusion Cesium was going to cost back in the day. So I had it pre-ordered at TF Source back in the day, and I canceled it. I had decided to spend money on other things, and I was like, well, where can I cut back? And I was like, I really don't need that because I have Scoria. Since I scored a Scoria back in the day for a really good price, that I didn't need to get a Cesium also. I do think I spent a little more on Scoria than I would have spent on the Cesium, but it was funny because there's rumors everywhere before the thing was even made that it was going to be cheaper, have less die cast, have less chrome parts, it was going to be as good as Scoria, and nobody even mentioned that it was taller, but I guess I could have researched all that on my own. So I canceled it, and I was like, yeah, okay, I'll cancel it. I'll save my $130, and then now it is the reissue at retail price is twice the price of the original price of this figure. But I did pre-order one also, $20 at Show Z store, and TH in the reviewer code box. But the thing about it is that the price on this is a lot higher, and I start to wonder, they're making this sort of, I guess, to fit in with the rest of their figures because Scoria was a lot shorter, and we're not going to see Scoria get reissued, but will we see the rest of the dinos? I don't know. And, of course, BBTS is sold out also. $250 is the price on that one. So it's cheaper, sells out first, that's how things go. It's a better price, sells out faster. Just the way it is. And it's pretty much unanimously the way it is across the board. And pretty much with all the other toy lines, except for some weird thing with Hasbro Pulse. For whatever reason, same price on Hasbro Pulse, but sells out faster there, probably in smaller quantities. So it gets into a July reissue date also. Now, it does look good, and it does seem like it scales well with the rest of the Fanstoys stuff, and I will be checking this one out for the first time ever. I'm a little interested. It's one of those things, it's kind of the one that got away, and it does fit in. But I have no other Fanstoys anymore. I've since sold off all my Fanstoys dinos, but this one just seems like it would be fun to take a look at and to check it out and compare it to the Gigapower. Now, a lot of people say, would this be something that you'd want to get if you've collected Gigapower? Would this be your foot in the door into collecting Fanstoys? And I don't know, because I don't think they'll reissue all of them again within a 5-year timeline. It's one of those things, they only seem to do one dino every other year. They've reissued almost all of them over the past 5 years, so I don't see them doing them all again, but it is a possibility. I'm not sure if they will, but you can roll the dice. I still think it's a great figure. I'm going to check it out. So that's where I'm at. Some of these pictures, these are original pictures. I don't know why they're so fuzzy. I guess they put them low res as in like they're just not going to take up as much space and storage. But There they are. This is Cesium. It's a lot of fun. Next on the topic list. What else is on the chopping block to get reissued? Well, we've seen them reissue their Coot a few times. We've seen them reissue Apache up there. We have not seen these two in this same picture. I picked this picture on purpose. Hoodlum and RC. So those are both up for possibilities that they could reissue. I'm not saying they are. I'm not predicting they are. And I'm not saying it's something that's going to come this year, next year, or the year after. I'm just saying it's a possibility. So there's a lot of things that are possible. I don't know what they're going to do. I hear people screaming for Hoodlum, but when he was released, he had a problem with the paint scraping on the hood. I don't know if they've figured out a way to fix that or not, but literally every one of them has paint scrape on the hood. I never transformed mine, so it's kind of like, is that a Pandora's box kind of thing? Like, I'm never going to see it because I'm never going to transform it, so I'm never going to know. I'm just going to hope it didn't happen to mine. And RC's a good figure, but a lot of people act like she's the best. I don't think she's the best, but she's still good. She's solid. If you have her, then you have a nice looking RC. I personally like Takara's look aesthetic the most, but I like the functionality of MNC the most. And then third is the RC. Those are all possible, but the Apache one, again, I do want to point out, they made a lot of changes to the reissue, and the one in this picture is not the reissue. And the changes all surrounded paint deco. So what's not going to be on the chopping block? Well, theoretically, any of the ones that were limited releases that, like this Sovereignty, toy version of Sovereign. This one, in my opinion, should never get reissued for a slew of reasons. Number one, they're moving to a 2.0 body structure. Maybe they'll do a Sovereign 2.0 T. That's a possibility. But this particular one and this particular mold should never see another reissue ever again, since they're abandoning the first one. They're abandoning the first one and moving to a 2.0. But also the fact that it's supposed to be limited and never made again. But then again, Quiet as T was limited and made over again. Well, I still believe that they made so many and held 500 back like they were doing for a while and then put them back out, and of course for a much higher price. Also, there's a lot of the Dinobot recolors that they've made in the past that were supposed to be limited, like the EX versions and the Diaclone versions and the G2 versions, and these pictures are all from Sam. Thank you, Sam. You have a great collection. Just let that flex continue to flex with these pictures, because these are amazing figures that should never get made again. And I'm not upset that they're not ever going to get made again. I just like looking at these pictures. I don't think I'd even be in on them if they reissued them now, because I probably would. I probably would just get one of each EX, because I like those. I would definitely get the G2 version of Grimlock, but I don't think I'd be in on everything. But here are several different variations that they say will never get made again, and so far they have been true to that threat. They have not reissued any of these that I know of ever again since the early days when they were doing these things. But of course, Fanstoys can do whatever Fanstoys wants, but I still really highly doubt any of these get reissued. I think these are all off the table. But I'm a fan of closing on a positive note here, because I really do think Hydra's on the table. I think it's definitely another good one to reissue and to put out with a knee fix. And although I feel like a broken record again, but people complain about the knees. Like, mine's fine. It is soft. It's a soft ratchet, not a hard ratchet. And yes, it would have been nice to have a stronger ratchet in there. But of course, the big part of it is because the knee goes two different directions. So that's part of why it's soft. But mine doesn't fall over. I haven't had any issues with it, but people complained about it, and you haven't seen it get reissued. But it could be something they could fix. And as they've been known to fix stuff when they reissue it, this is definitely one on the chopping block. Is it on or off the chopping block? It's definitely a possibility. All right, so there it is, Jabber, and we have the Cesium up for reissue pre-orders, and pre-orders might sell out. I'm curious how long it takes for them, once the production's done, once they show up, for everyone to sell out. And it's one of those curiosities that makes me wonder, What are we going to see in the future? What kind of reissues are going to come out? How far are they going to go with this? Because they do put out about 6 or 8 reissues every single year, and it seems like they've been picking good ones lately, and definitely these two are some of the most popular requests for reissues. But I'm curious what you think about this. Are you in on these? Are you excited about it? Or I believe at least half of the community is like, well, I already have those, so I don't need them. Let me know in the comments below. Like, subscribe. Tadira, hang around.